Pride Month came in harder than Miley Cyrus on a wrecking ball. I've been out the closet for as long as I've been out the womb, and I still have yet to go to a pride parade. I feel like the only reason I would go would be to pick up some baddies, but judging by the videos I've seen online, pride's not where the baddies go. During Pride Month, there's this widespread encouragement to be proud of something that you simply didn't choose to be. I mean, being told to be proud that I'm gay feels the same as being told to be proud that I have brown hair and 2 hands. I mean, I didn't really choose these things. I just popped out the pussy portal like this, and I'm forced to exist with it now. If you're anything like me, it feels a little strange to be casually scrolling through your IG feed to suddenly see a rainbow assortment of posts praising an aspect of yourself that you really don't even pay much attention to. And then you get those thoughts in the back of your head like, oh, but shouldn't I be happy that these people are supporting me? I mean, hey, there's a whole month dedicated to celebrating an aspect of myself that was once unacceptable. So this is a good thing, right? These surface level thoughts try to convince you to be happy about it, but something internally is still just not sitting well. See, if you keep making these special months and these special parades, then it makes gayness special. And I know I can't speak for everyone, but I don't want to be treated like I'm special, especially not for something as trivial as my sexuality. I have no desire to be treated like I'm different when I feel perfectly normal. Some people might think that the pride parades encourage people to be more accepting of the community, but to be honest, I disagree. The only way you're gonna reach normalcy is when you stop constantly highlighting the fact that you're different. I can feel this awkward distance between myself and an acquaintance when they find out I'm gay. There's this subtle pause where I can tell they feel some amount of social pressure to say something supportive so that they don't seem homophobic. There's this weird pressure put on straight people that if they're not openly supportive or actively participating, then they're somehow not an ally. When in actuality, most people just don't care. They don't care that you're gay. It makes no difference to them. Your sexuality is completely irrelevant in their mind, which is exactly how it should be. Do you really want to be treated any differently on the basis of who you want to hump? I just find it strange to see people wearing their sexuality like it's some badge of honor. Like maybe we should reconsider giving relevance to this really irrelevant detail about us. I mean, I'd like to say there's more depth in my character than my love for big booty Latinas. I understand that in many ways the LGBT community is still pushing to be more accepted, but I guess the part I don't understand is why you need that acceptance anyway. Legally, you can get married to who you want now, so what are you pushing for? After enough time and effort, a push starts to feel like a shove, and that's the point I feel like we passed a long time ago, where we're not just raising awareness and support, but trying to force others to agree with it. That's when you really start to see some pushback and the progress you were making for the community actually starts to regress. I mean, overall, I feel like straight people have been pretty nice to us. Sure, I got called a faggot and a dyke more times than I could count, but for every person who called me a slur, there were thousands that voted in support of gay marriage. A lot of people have been tolerant of us, and I just think it's a good idea to return some of that tolerance. It's okay if someone's not okay with you being gay. They have their own life, their own experiences, and their own freedom to believe whatever they want. It's pretty unreal how the LGBT community is known for being an inclusive and accepting group, yet they're extremely excluding of anyone who doesn't fully align with 100% of their values. They're so inclusive that if you're not inclusive, they exclude you. Get it? If we're gonna preach open-mindedness, then let's actually be open-minded. That means being open to people who completely disagree with your worldview. Real open-mindedness means being tolerant to opinions that don't align with your own. There are people who will never relate to your perspective, and they don't have to. As crazy as it sounds, I think I could be friends with a homophobe. I grew up never being accepted. I don't care if you don't like who I am. I'm open to hearing your perspective, even if it's not one that I personally subscribe to. I'm never gonna try to force you to adopt my point of view. That's a trivial battle I have zero interest in fighting. And honestly, adopting that kind of attitude is a hell of a lot more likely to warm somebody up to gayness than screaming at them that they're evil and homophobic. I personally feel like this ideology of constantly needing acceptance is just a juvenile expectation overall. There's always going to be people who don't like you and don't accept you. That's just a normal part of life. As long as they're not gatekeeping opportunities from you or deliberately trying to harm you, then that lack of acceptance really shouldn't even bother you. I feel like the LGBT community is so quick to blame their inability to fit in or be liked on their sexuality. Like, oh, it's because I'm gay, or it's because they're homophobic. When in reality, that's probably only the case a small percentage of the time. I also find it kind of strange how the LGBT community is marketed these days. And I use the word marketed very intentionally here because it does feel like social propaganda that's trying to sell you something. LGBT is presented as all sunshine and rainbows. Literally, the flag that represents the community is a rainbow. But it's no secret this community struggles severely. Mental health outcomes are trash. Our self-delete rates are ridiculously high. And don't even get me started on the involved, lengthy, tedious process of trying to have a kid with someone who's the same sex. There are many aspects of gayness that just suck. Like, it's weirdly romanticized on social media these days, and I don't get it. Like, why glamorize it? I gotta spend thousands of dollars to extract my eggs, pay to keep them in a baby freezer, find a sperm donor, and then once it's all said and done, there's only like a 30% chance of success. So if it doesn't work, I gotta pay for that process all over again. I can't just nut in the bitch and then 9 months later she poops out a baby. Like, this shit's complicated. It's been a year since I released my last LGBT video about pride, and what's amazing is that 2 million people watched it, but it feels like nobody listened. People in the comments were calling me a traitor, saying things like, friendly fire will not be tolerated. But when did we ever declare a war? I don't want to fight you. You've built your entire identity on something as trivial as who you want to sleep with. And as far as I'm aware, you didn't make that decision, and neither did I. I'm not firing shots. I'm telling you it's dumb to have your guns out in the first place. You think there's way more people who care about this than there actually are. Nobody cares about who you're trying to hump except for whoever's trying to get humped. People were wanting me to make more LGBT related videos, but I didn't want to, because continuously bringing it up just gives this trivial thing way more importance than it deserves. The best thing this community can do right now is to be quiet. And I know it sounds harsh for me saying that, but there's just a lot of noise coming from this community. And it sucks knowing that by making this video, I'm really just adding to it, but I'm not trying to add fuel to the flames. I'm holding a fire extinguisher trying to put it out.
Yeah, fall back too close, you ain't even know me. Trust